universities or of the poor or of whatever if we cannot make it with good business opportunities. So it's good for business too, a win-win game. Yesterday, we heard from Bill Clinton. Sustainability must create economic opportunities and improve the quality of life. Two things to do, and they both have to come together in the same project. We cannot think realistically of improving anything without making it so that the market economy can thrive, that employment can grow, that wealth can be created. Both things have to go together. Quality of life is measured by fulfillment of values and aspirations. What was the luxury life, the values and aspirations under the mass production paradigm? Brand new is better than old. Bigger is better than smaller. More is better than less. Synthetic is better than natural. Fabricated is better than handmade. Disposable is so comfortable. Leisure is rest, not exercise. Shopping is a leisure activity. And if you don't keep up with the Joneses, you're falling behind. Those were the values and aspirations. That was what people thought was good. The good life was all those things. How did that happen? Because those aspirations are historically determined by the way society shapes each successive technological potential. How did society shape this one? Well, there were some enablers. First of all, obviously, the low cost of products. That's what mass production brought. Not of services, the low cost of products, physical ones. Consumer credit. For the first time, it used to be that people had to get from loan sharks when they needed money. But now, because they were buying big things like automobiles and houses and all the rest, well, the automobile companies themselves allowed you to pay every month. You were buying like capital goods. This was a huge change in consumer habits. So you needed consumer credit. And then you needed unemployment insurance, because if you were laid off, you had to continue paying. Otherwise, can you imagine everybody getting all the cars back and all the refrigerators back and everything when there were layoffs? Unemployment insurance was good for the unemployed and was good for the ones that were selling things to them. It was coherent. Official trade unions, so that the trade unions would fight to get more and more salaries, and so that the higher salaries could buy more and more products. So again, it was a positive sum game. Savings and loan banks, so people could buy houses, and low-cost housing, beginning with Levittown, which was making houses really affordable through technologies that made it so. And then you had opinion shapers. You had role models, you had advertising, movies, TV, relative prices, marketing strategies. The whole thing made, and I can tell you, I happen to have lived in this country in the 1950s. Wow, opinion shaping was strong. Mass production models were constantly there in every single thing you saw. The shift to ICT green consumption patterns is possible. Not by guilt and fear. Guilt because we used all the materials before, fear because we think that global warming is going to destroy the planet. Then today I have to turn the light off. No, we've got to be able to do it by desire and aspiration. It's got to be luxurious. You know, the British aristocrats used to walk around with these lovely tweed, fantastic material things, several years old with patches in their elbows, and they sold these newish, wearing these brand new things, you know, and they looked down, it looked vulgar. So we've got to make it vulgar to be a consumerist. We've got to get to high quality and durability as the goals, and that's what's affluent. That's what's good. things that are really wonderful in themselves, not because they're new, but because they are fantastically good. So, through shaping and enabling a change in our notions of luxury and the good life. But it must happen first and visibly in the advanced countries, because aspirations are imitated top-down. So if we cannot do it in the advanced countries, it's no use fighting with the Chinese or the others. You know, you're polluting. What do you mean we're polluting? What have you done? And they are right. If it's possible to change, we should change first. If it's possible to do it, let's do it. Really what has to happen is that divorce between modern and consumerist. And that has to be done across the board. Because the notions of luxury and good taste emerge at the top of the income scale and spread down by imitation. Part of the paradigm shift is already happening. It's not that nothing is happening. If we look at the situation, you remember the list I gave you about the good life? You were all laughing a bit, weren't you? Because now we think small is better than big. Nobody wants a bigger mobile or a bigger laptop. Natural materials are better than synthetic. And nobody wants to wear this horrible thing that you can't breathe with. Everybody wants to have nice cotton pure. Multi-purpose is better than single function, obviously. Obviously, isn't it? Gourmet food is better than standard. Fresh organic fruits and vegetables are healthier, and health is very important. It used to be hygiene was very important, but health wasn't very clear. Health was being not sick. But it's a different thing. Exercise is important for well-being. Nah, it used to be just sit down, couch potato. Exercise is great. It's luxurious. The richer people go around running. I better run too. Global warming is a real danger, and that is becoming conscious among. Not commuting to work is possible and preferable and a privilege. People who cannot commute to work, they're better off than the ones that are forced to go, poor victims. Solar power is luxurious. And of course, what happens is that you first get very expensive stuff that only the very rich can afford. But if you can have enough of that, enough of rich, and enough of government subsidy or something, then you can start going down, and then you can come down, because that's how technologies develop. They're always more expensive at the beginning, but they can only get cheaper if there are lots of people using them. Internet communications, shopping, learning, and entertainment are better than the old ways, etc. But the relative prices and wider interests have to follow, will they? Well, I think there is an unavoidable path of the current globalization pattern. On the one hand, we have rising prices of oil and raw materials, and rising packaging and freight costs. That is inevitable. There is so much more being produced. There is no way that prices will come down again. They are going up. But supposing by some crazy whatever they could come down, we've got to have some policy to stop them coming down. Because if they come down again, then we go backward again. Visible effects of increasing global warming, rising climatic risk. You know, the more there is an inundation here, flood here, and a hurricane there, and things that really, the more people will have to be paying insurance, and the more people will understand that there is something really serious going on. Well, those two things are going to change the economics of the production, transport, and distribution of tangible goods. And that will then force a change in business strategies. And it will also change government policy. So those two things together are going to bring something that I do not think we can avoid. All the better. there will be a massive relocation and geographic respecialization of physical production into optimal local, regional, and global networks. Probably every city will start thinking of its own sort of self-sustainability in certain things, in food, in water, in this and that and the other, because that has to do with this change. And gradual redesign of consumption patterns for the good life. Utopian or realistic? Both. However, it sounded utopian to say in the mid-1930s depression that blue-collar workers will have lifetime jobs and fully equipped suburban houses with a car at the door. 25% unemployment, real poverty, hobos all over the country, all over the world, real serious depression. That had never happened before. Well, it was realistic. Increasing wages created many more millions of consumers for mass production and sustained growth. Another thing, that most colonies would gain independence. That sounded pretty crazy. There was going to be a war for colonies just after, a couple of years after that. Well, what happened was that it did happen, and the rising middle classes in the developing world adopted the American way of life, widening world markets for mass production, so that everybody profited in the end from something that looked like you were giving up something, and in fact, everybody gained something from it. Or in the late 1960s, if somebody had said some of the values of the hippie movement, back to natural materials, organic food, those things will become the luxury norms. You're crazy. What do you mean? Impossible. Those guys, the hippies. No. Well, yes, that's exactly what happened. Innovation in natural textile fibers have transformed the world of fashion. Innovation in distribution logistics have made organic foods the premium segment in supermarkets. In supermarkets, not in little shops. In the supermarkets, that's the premium segment. Organic, hand-grown. No petrochemical fertilizers. Huh? So, a shift in a consumption pattern is a shift in profit-making opportunities. It is not taking away from business. It is moving business in another direction. Just look the other way. So a sustainable, positive sum future is possible. For business, fast-growing global demands, new consumers, because right now they do obsolescence, because if you have only so many people that can be consumers, you have to sell the same thing to them several times in their lifetime. But if you have millions and millions and millions of Chinese, of Asians, of Malaysians, of Africans, of South Africans, of Latin Americans, of the other Middle East people coming in and in and in into the consumption market, well, you just produce more and more for more and more people, so you can do it durably. So changing and widening space for innovation and investment. They have a huge environmental industry to grow, profits from quality and adaptability, etc. For consumers, better job prospects from a less skewed production geography, high-quality, durable products, new patterns of desirable living fulfilled, etc. For the Asian developing world, better balance between outward and inward growth, which is their great problem now, the internal tensions between the rich getting richer and the poor nowhere near moving up. Reduced dangers from the environment for them too. And for the rest of the